Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Chronic Presence podcast. And today I am very excited to share a bit of a story about why the name Chronic Presence actually speaks not only to the work that I do, but to the way that I live my life. And I'm going to share a bit, about how that name came to be and how it really has applied to the last week and a half in particular of my life. So, as anyone who's watched my first few episodes understands, I have been in and out of a lifelong experience with chronic pain and autoimmune conditions, as well as chronic, no longer chronic, but previously chronic addiction and mental health challenges. The concept of chronic pain is very prevalent in our society, in many people's lives, whether that's a chronic physical ailment or a chronic emotional challenge or struggle. And as I was going through a lot of my own healing journey, the thing that created changes for me, the thing that taught me how to shift, was this idea of shifting out of chronic pain and into chronic presence, being chronically present in my life, being where I am right now with my whole heart, and allowing the impact and the experience of the present moment to actually be the thing that illuminated and freed me from the pain, whether that was in my physical body or in my emotional body. That could look like being right here, right now, and noticing, is there tension? Is there discomfort? Is there masking? And using that present moment to heal those patterns. Although those patterns were certainly developed at an earlier point in my life from like a chronological timeline, the present is what is going to illuminate that and allow it to be healed. In moments of joy and intimacy and vulnerability, that presence allows me or you or whoever is in total presence to experience that joy or that vulnerability or that closeness, that openness, without any fear interrupting it. So regardless of whether the present moment is illuminating something challenging or the present moment is really joyful, when you are immersed in it, when you are completely here with your whole heart in this moment, it allows you to be fully open to that range of human experience. And that in and of itself is the most healing experience that we can have. So that's what chronic presence means to me and sort of the symbolism behind it. Now, the actual name, as well as the logo that you see on my socials, came to me in the way that most of my best ideas do while I was driving, stuck in traffic, I think on my way to the office. That's most of the time when I get these little like drop-ins, whether it's a visual or a phrase that I hear. And a lot of people say like when they're in the shower is when they have their best ideas or whatever. For me, it's when I'm just driving by myself and I have nothing else to do. And maybe I'm listening to a podcast or maybe it's just quiet. Maybe I have some music on in the background, but that time in the car for me is inevitably the most fruitful in terms of my downloads, inputs from God. Now, let me tell you what's happened over the last couple of weeks, because I'm now in a place that I'm able to talk about it. You may notice some discoloration on my hand. My youngest was using me as a coloring book yesterday. So on Friday, two Fridays ago, from when I am recording this, I was in a conversation with a very dear friend of mine. And I was sharing that my current present experience at that point in time was a lot of dissatisfaction, stress, and related physical pain associated with the type of therapy that I've been doing in my practice, which is pretty traditional, sitting in an office, talking to people, teaching them how to regulate their nervous systems, that type of, psychosomatic therapy work in a traditional setting. Over the past year, 8 months to a year, I've been shifting a lot of my focus into how to create effective and alternative group therapies for my clients. So forest therapy has been a big part of that. We do foraging workshops and spending time around a campfire. And that group work is really where my passion is. It's where I'm much more effective, I think, as a practitioner. And it brings me a ton of joy. However, I, like all of us, can be prone to falling into the this is how it's done model, or this is a thing that's giving me security in some way, whether it's financial security, emotional security, even just that familiarity of I know the pattern, I know what this looks like, I know how to make it work. So I had been ignoring the part of myself that had truly been asking me to quit my office therapist job. Yes, I'm self-employed, but it was still my job, right? And so on Friday in this conversation with my friend, the discontent with that came up. And what I admitted out loud to her was, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be sitting in an office doing this type of therapy with people. I don't feel that I am serving my clients the best that I could be. I don't feel that I'm serving myself the best that I could be, because it's not my zone of genius. There are amazing practitioners who do talk therapy, and this is not a diss on talk therapy as a whole. I'm saying it's not where I was thriving or where I truly in my soul wanted to be. And so I came home after that visit and I said to my fiance, I'm going to quit my job. There are a million reasons why that didn't make sense, most of them being financial, in terms of cash flow and security. And there's a number of other uncertainties that are happening in the background in our life right now that would keep me, if I wasn't totally in surrender and in like obedience to what I know God is asking me to do. If that wasn't my focus, there is no way my logical, adult, responsible mind would allow me to make that jump and to take that shift. I chose the most amazing man in the world to marry. And so his response was none of those things, none of those logical, ooh, I don't know if this is a good idea. He looked me dead in the eye and he said, I have no idea how this is going to work, but I'm so proud of you and I am behind you 100%. This, what I am describing to you right now, is the epitome of presence. I had an old way of doing things. It was showing up, seeing X number of clients a day, getting X number of billed hours, predictable, repeatable, and frankly, for me, quite soul draining. I love my clients. I love the people that I work with, but the method with which I was working with them was not working for me. So I had this structure. It's a structure that lots of people have done. It's a structure that lots of people will continue to do. And I knew that it was predictable and it would work. It's so easy to stay stuck in that. Then there's this future that is uncertain and unpredictable and unknown. What does it look like for me to completely quit the one-on-one therapy and move entirely into this new type, new paradigm, new modality of the work that I do in my therapy practice? Either one of those, we've got stuck old patterns, predictable ways of doing things, and then unknown, uncertain, no guarantees over here. Fear, stuck, depression, trapped. Neither of those places are great ones to be living in, but this present moment of I know exactly what my heart is yearning for, and I hear God so clearly asking me to take this step in faith, and I feel the promise of it's going to work out. That is the only place within which I am going to live my life. Making that change without a guarantee, without a replacement, without a backup in place. It kind of was, it was terrifying. I'm going to be honest. I spent the weekend processing through the emotions of that in a way that I knew was going to allow me to be very grounded and very authentic when I made this announcement to my clients and to other people who I work with, like my colleagues and things like that. And I'm glad that I took that little bit of time because it gave me the opportunity to really sink into the surrender, to appreciate the grace of letting go of what was keeping me in a safe and predictable environment while choosing to move into the unknown in absolute total faith that the path would illuminate before me. But I had to let go first. I couldn't wait for the path to light up and then let go. That's not faith, that's control. That's not surrender, right? And so on Monday of last week, from when this is being recorded, I sent that notice out to everyone. I announced that I would be stepping back from one-to-one therapy, gave everyone a reasonable amount of notice, et cetera, et cetera. For those of you who don't know, I have a bachelor degree in leadership. I then went on to do an agricultural degree specializing in equine studies, and then my master's degree in counseling. And my dream truly was to have an equine assisted therapy business. Because of what happened for me physically with the illnesses that I experienced over the last 4 years, that dream got I'm not going to say buried, but just put so far to the side that I kind of forgot about it. I didn't have the physical ability to do anything that would have been safe with horses. I chose on Friday to quit. I sent my notice and information out to all relevant people on Monday. And on Thursday, I ended up on a call with someone completely out of nowhere through some kind of random grapevine conversation that was happening that I didn't know about, where they asked me if I would join their equine facility as their therapist to do group equine therapy and help them create and build out that program. I didn't know this was happening. I didn't have my finger on a pulse for it. Something had come into my awareness a few weeks prior where it lit this up, where I thought, oh, maybe there's somewhere I can create a partnerships somewhere in the local area. I don't really know. So that seed had been planted mentally, but not a single concrete or solid action had been taken to make that occur. But within 3 days of me taking that leap of faith, my dream, my passion, my expertise all fell into one perfect, aligned opportunity. You can't make that stuff up, guys. You really can't. And in addition to that, the forest therapy work that I'm doing is becoming quite popular. People are really enjoying it. And now I am moving from a job that was meaningful and helpful, but hard on my body, hard on my heart, into the same professional capacity as in my therapy practice, but it requires me to just spend days in the woods and the barn. I am not surprised that this is happening, because that is the nature of surrender and obedience to that knowing. But I am mind blown every time. It doesn't surprise me anymore. But the gratitude and the joy and the excitement and the pleasure of witnessing that kind of unfolding is beyond anything that I could put words to. It is absolutely life-altering, mind-bending. Like, it leaves no room to doubt when you start to surrender and you witness the changes, you witness the support, you witness the way things show up to make it work when you are acting completely in surrender and alignment to God's will for your life. And that's the only thing that I really hope people can get from hearing this story, is that little bit of borrowed faith. If you need to borrow mine, I promise I have so much of it. You can take as much as you want. That things will work when you act in alignment, when you are so committed to showing up the way that you know you're meant to show up. Yes, things might not always show up exactly the way you had envisioned it, but that's still control, right? Surrender is letting it show up in the way that it's meant to show up. It's taking the step without really knowing if the ground is there in front of you, knowing that the ground will appear. And I can't encourage you enough to start taking those little steps. Start small. Build your trust, build your confidence, build the knowing within you that you are so loved and so cared for and so held. And remember that you've gotten to this point in your life. Wherever you are, you have always figured it out. You have always made it work, or it has always worked. You didn't have to necessarily make it. So why do we live in this fear that somehow next time will be different? It's never not worked out. If you are still here, you are okay, which means you have the opportunity to get even better. And I just envision this world where everyone lives in that paradigm, in that reality, the truth that they are held and supported. And I imagine the way that we would all operate in such abundant, complementary, integrated relationships if everyone was able to act in obedience to their higher self, to their soul, to their heart, to what God is asking them to step into. There's no failure there. It becomes a win-win-win-win-win situation all around. And I'm just excited to continue sharing that journey with everyone who is following along, and maybe providing a little bit of faith, support, inspiration to those of you who know that there's a step for you to take, and maybe you're a little bit scared to take it, but it's okay. Like, just jump, just do it. It's meant for you. It is meant for you if it has been given to you. That is all. Love you guys so much. So much, so much, so much.